So we've just made a list of all the possible rational zeros for this function. So we're going to find what all of the zeros might be. So we have this list where we can start guessing and checking. It's unlikely that positive or negative 24 is going to be one of the zeros. And probably even unlikely that 12 is going to be one of them. So when you choose one to guess or start with, I would choose one. 1, 2, or 3 is probably a good place to start. And the fastest way to check if something's a zero is going to be using synthetic division / substitution. So let's go with 3. Let's see if 3 is a zero to this polynomial. So we're going to do synthetic substitution / division with 3. So we have 1x cubed plus 5x squared minus 2x minus 24. And we're doing this, and what we're looking to see is, do we get a 0 down here? Because if we get a 0, then that tells us that 3 is a 0, and that's what we're looking for. So we bring down the 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 5 plus 3, 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Plus the negative 2 gets us a 22. 3 times 22, that's 66, and that does not look like that's going to work out, right? 66 plus that negative 24 gets us to 42. So 3 is not one of the zeros. So we move on. We pick something else and try it. So I would recommend having some scratch paper for these, because you're going to have ones that don't work, and it could be 3 or 4 guesses before you get there. But one nice thing, I guess, is it's x cubed, and I think we talk about this in the next section, but since it's x cubed, there's 3 zeros. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 things on this list, but 3 of them in there can work. So it's not like you're looking for the 1 out of the 16. So typically after just a few guesses, you'll find one. So let's try something else. How about 2? Let's plug in 2 and see if that works. So 2 and then 1, 5, negative 2, negative 24. And hopefully you agree that this is a lot faster than if we were to do long division each time. So we bring down the 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. 2 times 7 is 14. Plus the negative 2 is 12. And 2 times 12 is 24. And 24 plus that negative 24 is 0. So that means that 2 is one of the zeros. So now we move on like we had in the previous section. So we know that 2 is a 0, which means x minus 2 is a factor. So we've divided by x minus 2, and we're left with 1x squared plus 7x plus 12. Does x squared plus 7x plus 12 factor? Multiplies to 12 and adds to 7. That's going to be x plus 3, x plus 4. So the zeros, what we're ultimately looking for in the end, are x equals 2, x is a negative 3, and x is a negative 4. And so had you chosen, let's say you had tried negative 3. If you had tried negative 3 in your synthetic division, it would have worked. It would have given you a 0. And then that would have given you a quadratic that would have factored into x minus 2, x plus 4, because you would have already found the x plus 3. Okay, so as long as you hit one of those 3 and you're guessing and checking, you're going to be all right. Okay, and I know that these can be time consuming. When it comes to the test, if you've done 3 guesses and none of them have worked, I'll give you one of the zeros, but just make sure that your work is correct. If you make mistakes, like if we had messed up on the 2 and somehow gotten this wrong, we would have been looking extra long and then would have wasted some time. Okay. So let's look at the other one. Here we have a longer list to look at. Let's go with 1. Let's see if 1 is a 0. So 1, 2, negative 11, 3, and 36. Is that right? 2, negative 11, 3, 36. So we bring down to the 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Negative 11 plus 2 gets us a negative 9. 1 times negative 9. 3 minus 9 is negative 6. And times 1, negative 6. Gets us to 30. So that's not a 0. So we have to try something else. I'll let you finish this from here. I'll give you a hint that 3 just might be one of the zeros. Okay, so plug in 3. See if that gets you a 0 down here. If it does, then you've got x minus 3 times some quadratic, and then that should factor, and you'll have your zeros.